You will be on social media for like 2 hours and you won't even realize. And it's because you're so overly stimulated.
We basically become slaves to the scrolling. You just have to sort of figure out that, hey, this is basically causing brain rot. You think you're getting inspired because you're following all these accounts that are in the related field and industry. But suddenly you just feel behind. You feel less than, unsure of your own voice. Are you doing enough? If you end up doing what you think the other person's doing, then you kind of get depleted.
Even though you're not thinking negatively about the other person, you're still comparing yourself because you're just like, oh, what can I do to get myself where they're at?
Creating checks and balances so that the comparison doesn't kill you in the end.
Don't let it take over. Unpredictable reward give you that more dopamine high than something that you're expecting. Any kind of addiction is bad.
Ever since I created a vision board, it's eliminated comparison.
I think when I first started social media, I was very lost.
I think your brand identity relates to your mental environment. All right, welcome to the CEOs of the Six. I have such a special announcement. So I couldn't get enough of this one. And so we decided to join heads, and she is going to be my new co-producer. Yay! Welcome, Prinka, forever.
Thank you.
And and the reason we brought her on is because she has expertise in psychology. Like, that's what your background is. And I think the both of us just have such amazing conversations off camera. Is really important to shed that light when it comes to business and when it comes to just life in general.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You have a lot to say about that. So I'm really, really, really happy to have you on board. And today's episode is actually something I think we all struggle with time to time, but I'm just gonna let you take it.
So firstly, thank you. I'm very excited to be here. So today our topic is actually how the comparison on social media can actually kill creativity in life, in businesses, anywhere really.
Yeah. So I've kind of come up with a few points that I want to address, and I know you have expanded on them. So I'll just get started with the first one. Creativity needs stillness and not constant stimulation. Would you agree with that or disagree?
I totally agree with that. Yeah, it's very stimulating. It needs stillness because you need time to actually process
what you're thinking in your mind, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're constantly scrolling, it almost feels like you are now watching everybody else's agenda that's in your respective field. Yeah. And then you're sort of just deleting your plan. Yeah. You know, that thing that made you like get up and like
that motivation,
right? This is why I started this. Like you kind of had those initial dreams.
Yeah.
So it kind of detours you a little bit.
But like, it's interesting because when you're scrolling, you're getting that.
You're also getting the ideas.
Yeah.
So I think when we basically become slaves to the scrolling, you just have to sort of figure out that, hey, this is basically causing brain rot. Ultimately, it's going to make my business rot.
Yeah. I know we're going to, expand on this like later, but dissociation, right? You dissociate with like your reality. Yeah. Like there's been so many times when I've like been on my phone and I've been scrolling, and then when I stop scrolling, I'm like, whoa. Like, I feel like I'm in a different world.
Yeah, like you just feel like everything was vibrating for so long, and then it's just, you're frozen. Yeah. And that's not a good feeling because then you're fatigued like into doing anything else.
Yeah. And you sense yourself just sitting on the couch or bed, wherever you're scrolling, even more and longer.
Do you think people should have an allocated time to scroll? I know it's hard.
Yeah, I know it's hard, but like I know there might be some apps and stuff where if you select Instagram, for example, it'll shut down after a certain amount of time.
I guess you have to do everything to place checks and balances for yourself so that you don't get removed from your goal, from your reality, essentially.
Exactly.
All right, point number 2. Comparison is the creativity thief that wears a friendly face. I think I said that earlier. You think you're getting inspired because you're following all these accounts that are in the related field and industry, right? But suddenly you just feel behind. You feel less than. You feel unsure of your own voice. Are you doing enough?
Yeah. Yeah, and like sometimes it's like in your subconscious. You may not realize that consciously. Like I know for me sometimes I feel like maybe it might be subconscious even for me. Like I know a lot of the people that I follow are other dancers. Right? And I do get a lot of inspo from them. But I sometimes do kind of look at it and be like, oh damn, like she's killing it, which is great. But at the same time I look at myself and I'm just like, okay, I can do better.
Right. And sometimes it can be like, okay, no, she's networking more, or he's networking more, or the circle is like this, and you know, they have more friends and they have more connections, and then it kind of forces you to do a lot of these other things. Whereas in this moment, what you need to do is actually develop your processes, develop your craft, and really like put all your time and energy into that. And then if you end up doing what you think the other person's doing, then you kind of get like depleted.
Yeah, because then it just becomes like any other task that you're doing.
Yeah. So would you say revisiting your primary goal and focus on a daily basis, if it is part of your morning ritual, or if it's part of your nightly ritual, but to really put that down? Right? What is my goal for this month? I know this is very cliched, but
it helps.
But it helps so much in situations like this. Right? Because we just convince ourselves that it's not comparison, but it is in one way.
It is in one way form. Yeah. Like even though you're not, you know, thinking negatively about the other person, you're still comparing yourself, because you're just like, oh shit, like what can I do to get myself where they're at?
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. And it's like, oh, I see what this person's playbook is, and should I be following this playbook? Instead of creating my own. And I'll be honest with you, I think I suffered from that for the first 10 years of my business, until I'm like, why? I want to do my own thing in my own way that I really truly believe, and just kind of creating these checks and balances. Maybe that's the takeaway ultimately from this episode today, is creating checks and balances so that the comparison doesn't kill you in the end.
Don't let it take over.
Number 3, every like is a dopamine drop, essentially, right? And it's never enough. So how does that work on the brain, on the mind, like subconsciously? What can you tell me about that?
So dopamine essentially is that feeling of like motivation and pleasure and
euphoria,
that reward.
Okay.
It's reward.
It's reward.
So every like you get, every view you get, every follow you get, that makes it more addictive.
Right.
And unpredictable reward give you that more dopamine high than something that you're expecting. So if you post something and all of a sudden it has like 1 million views, you're like, oh, you're like,
this post went viral. Oh my gosh.
And now you're just gonna keep going one after the other.
What else can I do next?
Yeah, which is good, but you can also get so stuck in that you start to lose yourself.
Can it fry your dopamine receptors? Can that happen? Like, because when you're constantly like chasing that
for it, like, and again, like any kind of addiction is bad.
So it's essentially catching yourself from that addiction, and to be able to recognize it. Not to bring it back to me again,
no,
but when I started this channel, of course I want the subscribers, I want a community, I want to build all of that, but in the back of my mind I said, slow and steady. Every day I remind myself, I rather have quality, I rather have people that are truly benefiting from this. That I've stopped looking at how many views I have. I don't look at it on a daily basis, just to keep my sanity, and so that I can just keep creating and improving on that. And this is a very different stage, a very big change of my life that I'm enjoying, because now it feels kind of like how a hobby works. A hobby you do not for this grand reward. It's just what's rewarding to you at a deeper, at a soul level.
Exactly. So I think, like, when you have that motivation, it depends on what the reason is for that motivation. Is the reason to get those views? Is the reason to get those likes? Or is the reason because you want to reach a certain goal when it comes to your creativity?
Right. So that's another thing to really sort of put down along with your goals, is what is your main reason? And to sort of look at that every day. Maybe this is a little off topic, but ever since I created a vision board,
Oh my gosh, I love vision boards.
And I felt silly doing it.
No, I get it, yeah.
I put down really like photos and images of what my goals were, what my real reason was. I put down certain really effective words on there.
Yeah.
And what I found is it's just changed the way I like proceed through my day.
Yeah.
And all those things are just, you know, checking off and not knock on wood.
Yeah.
But that seems to be working really, really well. And that's why I wanted to bring up this topic, because it's eliminated comparison.
Oh, yeah.
It's gotten rid of it.
Because when you're creating a vision board, you are focused on what you need. Yeah. And if you're looking at that vision board, for example, like every morning, that's what you're constantly reminded of. If you're looking at social media every morning, that's what you're constantly reminded of.
So would it be a good idea to... is talking about frying your dopamine receptors, not to start that first thing in the morning, like
social media,
put it away.
Yeah, no, definitely.
What if you're a content creator and that's like your job?
I still don't think so, because even when you're a content creator, you're a content creator for something,
right?
You're a content creator, you're a beauty content creator, you're a fashion, like whatever that.
Still don't start your morning by opening that up. Okay, that's a really good quick hack, you know, easier said than done,
of course.
But if you just set aside that first 45 minutes, just go grab your coffee. Yeah. Just, I don't know, take a pen and paper and journal, actually. Yeah. And really put down like this is my vision, this is why I started this, like even, you know, kind of you start writing lines. Remember we were writing lines?
Yeah I know, exactly,
right?
Yeah,
doing these cliche but necessary things, they really do help.
They really do work. And like I think for me especially, like the older I get, I'm just like, these cliche things work. And
I have to depend on them a lot, but it's significantly improved the quality of life. All right, number 4, the highlight reel isn't the whole story, and your feed equals your mental environment. I've noticed that in the past, where I'm constantly following a lot of artists that are in my industry, and then I'm sort of like, okay, this is just overcrowding me. Like now I no longer just have a grip on anything. I don't know what the next trend is. One person is bouncing onto one thing, the other is bouncing onto the other. So what I found was, especially when I pivoted from doing makeup full time, I started doing hair more. I actually unfollowed a lot of the artists that I was following in the past, right? Because I was like, okay, this is just kind of taking my attention away. And then I also cleaned up my feed. I gave it a whole new look, kind of like a rebrand. Right? Because I realized that there was not a lot of organization. So I put a lot of thought into clarifying it, essentially.
No, same. Like I think when I first started social media, to be honest, I was very lost. And I'm completely, like, I'm being so honest with that.
Absolutely, same here.
I was so lost, and like I was following beauty content creators, fashion content creators, and I was just doing the same thing that they were doing, right? And I was following those kind of people. And then once I found my kind of niche, which, I mean, I still love beauty, I still love fashion, but my niche is now like mental health and dance, I too cleared up my feed. I went into my old posts and I'm like, what am I doing? Delete. What am I doing? Like,
exactly. Right.
Yeah.
You kind of revisit your past and you sort of, it's like, okay, no, this no longer serves me.
Yeah.
And you bring in, like, even bringing in a new look.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You know, even that kind of adds to your individuality.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be permanent. No. You can change it up.
No, rebranding's always like, that's all part of like any kind of business, right? Like you're always rebranding. I think that's fine. But yeah, just like having something that's authentic to you.
Right? Once in a while, I mean, I love those TikTok trends. And,
me too.
I'm jumping on those every once in a while.
Fine. Those like trendy things, I'm totally fine
because they're funny.
They're just fun,
right?
Yeah.
Especially when you have someone to do them with. It's a blast.
It's the best. Yeah. Making your identity is like, and not having your own niche or your authenticity, then that's where it kind of gets stuck.
Yeah.
You know? So like with like Dance Your Mindset, for example, like I have been like watching so many dance instructors and dancers and all that for a very long time. time, and they've always inspired me to also do that, and I do their choreos all the time and everything. But when I started like my own business, or when I started my own workshops behind it, I felt like there was something like missing. Right? Like everyone does a workshop, they're all fun, they're great, the choreos are great, but then that mental health aspect was kind of missing. And like
why are we here?
Yeah, and that's such a huge part when it comes to dance. So like I think for me, when it came to being that like authentic person, it was adding that aspect.
That's your brand identity, and that's what you want to showcase and focus on a lot more. And I think your brand identity relates to your mental environment.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah,
that's how that ties in. And so I will always say your feed will evolve, it will change, but curate it with intention. Sometimes I kind of, before I make a change, like I'll change a font or something like that. I'll tend to like, okay, no, stick to the old format for a little while, just so there's a bit of a flow. When you're kind of focused on your own details and your own look, it's just so much more fun.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes you're like, oh my God, this person's using this aesthetic, and oh, should I buy a preset?
Oh my God, the whole preset, like I used to be about those presets.
I used to be as well.
All the time,
But then I'm like, no, make your own.
Yeah.
Because every time I would put my pictures or my videos as part of that preset, I never liked it.
Yeah.
Not never.
But like it didn't fit.
It didn't fit. It didn't feel like me.
Yeah.
But that person's doing it,
and it's trending.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now this whole trend, like very messy content, ugly content is
raw.
Like the sort of muffled voices and pixelated images and videos, and I'm like, I cannot do that.
Yeah.
I am posting hair.
Yeah, same. I'm posting dance. I can't have pixelated videos.
Exactly. That's kind of one of the things that we need to focus on when it comes to our brand identity.
Yeah.
It does equate to our mental environment.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about feeling disassociated, and I know you expanded on that a little bit, but I think this is a very important topic because it is happening frequently to all of us.
Yeah.
So do you mind expanding a little bit more on that?
No, not at all. So with dissociation, it's like when you're on social media, you dissociate from reality. And time goes by so fast when you're on social media. I don't know if you've noticed, but like you will be on social media for like 2 hours and you won't even realize. And it's because you're so overly stimulated.
What's happening in the background of your mind is like, okay, if I let this go, everything just comes to an end.
Yeah.
Is that the feeling?
That is the feeling, because like there's like when you're scrolling, there's like this like a meme, or there's like a funny thing, or it's like, what is someone doing, or there's like a dance, like there's this constant like, okay, what's next, and especially if you're constantly liking things, then you're like, oh, what's the next thing that I can like,
and then simultaneously you've now made a mental list of all these things that you need to do, right? And you've made this list, and now suddenly if you turn off the scrolling, that means it's time to actually get on that list, and that feels so overwhelming. Like, what did I sign myself up for?
Yeah, it's a distraction.
You sort of, it's kind of like, when you go to a buffet and you've just overloaded your plate. I'm guilty.
Me too.
And then after, you just feel disgusting.
Oh yeah. And you're like, oh my God, why did I eat that much?
So that's sort of what's happening when you're scrolling. So what are some effective ways, other than in the morning, you putting your phone away? What are some effective ways? Would you say a digital detox is a good idea every now and then?
Yeah, and I know some people who actually do that. Yeah. Like for like a month, and like, or even for like a couple of weeks, they just don't go on social media. Sometimes though, I do have to say, like, if your business, for example, is on social media, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's hard to go off of social media for like a month. If your business kind of
mine does.
Same. Right? So that makes it difficult. But there are ways that I think, like, throughout the day, you can maybe just like limit yourself. Like, putting your phone, like not having your phone in sight.
So something my husband did.
Yeah.
He puts his phone away in his core working hours in another room.
That's what my boyfriend does too.
Yeah. And what I've noticed is like I have some friends and I'm like, how do you have all this time to respond all day?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
They're just like constantly
right. They're constantly on there. And then it's like, oh my God, I have so much work. I have so much pending work. I have to do this over the weekend.
Yeah.
And that's probably what it is because, so in a way, this is a digital detox and you kind of are implementing this digital detox just every day. If you can't necessarily do it for like 2 weeks, I couldn't.
Yeah, I can't.
I can't. My whole life sort of depends on it. And especially now with like all the automation and everything that I've been working towards, that does actually help a little bit as well.
It just automatically.
Yeah, I'm a little hands off, but I still need to go and see what's going on.
Good.
But core working hours, putting it away, you know, while I'm working on an episode, while, you know, we're writing all of these things, it's just somewhere else.
Yeah. Or like even like making it difficult for you to access it. Right. So like having a password on like Instagram. So like you need to put in this long password. Right. My boyfriend used to do that all the time for certain websites even. Right. Like Facebook, if he didn't want to be scrolling on Facebook, like he had like a long code. So if he wants to unlock it,
that's clever.
It takes so long to unlock it. Right. Or like you said, putting it in a different room or in like a box or even on your phone, not having it be so visible, like putting it in a folder, like the actual app, putting it in a folder so you don't see it. That's a good trick. Yeah,
that's a good trick.
Yeah.
So these are our little hacks essentially to help you kind of detach a little bit, compare less, and ultimately, no matter what you do, checks and balances in place. It's very important to have them no matter what you do in life and catching yourself. So taking time to just reflect on what your habits are every day. Like if something's making you feel not icky, so good and icky, like really step aside and think about that. So I'm going to leave you with that for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if there are any other topics you'd like us to expand on, leave a comment below.
I want you to tell us, have you caught yourself in a comparison spiral? And what is something that you took away from this episode?
Yeah, we really want to know what are some methods you guys use, you know, that we may have not covered. I am really excited to hear from you guys and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.